candidates, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Michaela. I am the content creator behind KandidKayla.com. On this platform, we are all about helping each other and growing ourselves, in ourselves, and for ourselves within the 8 dimensions of wellness. So today I'm going to be talking about how I actually grew in my occupational wellness from D's to degrees, and now I'm working on my doctorate. So many of us, if we were not homeschooled, have been in a system by which they want you to conform to what I like to call the box. In this box, it's the cookie cutter image of what they believe a successful child to be. And so that includes, but is not limited to, someone who is quiet, someone who is meek, someone who is able to ingest all of the information thrown at them at all times the first time, to regurgitate said information on a test, and to learn all of these basic life skills that they feel are necessary in order to pass the ACT and SAT while holding a 4.0 GPA. The fact of the matter is that 90% of students are not these types of learners, and as a result, they end up being hit with stereotypes rather than the teachers learning to teach to them. And this is not to down teachers. However, the stereotypes that are often given to children who don't fit or conform within this mold are things such as troublemaker, class clown, lazy, not willing to try, apathetic, and things of that nature. I was hit with those same stereotypes. Once I had gotten to middle school, it was more so the thing where they felt like I wasn't trying or I wasn't putting in effort. And for that, busy work does not equate to effort or intelligence, in my opinion. By the time I got to high school, I was categorized as a student who worked hard and was an average student. I got a BCs on average in upper level AP type courses. However, I wasn't seen as the creme de la creme, and because of that, felt like a lot of times teachers counted me out. So a bit of an experience that happened to me was my sophomore year of high school. I went all in on my classes. I had taken all advanced courses. I was dancing on a travel dance team, which required me to dance 5 days a week, on top of taking care of my regular duties as the eldest sibling in my home. And I felt like I was holding plates by sticks. And as a result, I was not doing so well in Algebra 2. I ended up having an F in the class. My mom had to pay for an outside tutor on top of everything else that I was juggling. And by the grace of God, I did. I passed. I got a D. But that D devastated me. As an average student who had been used to doing well in all of my courses with the same amount of effort, I had finally met my match. I had finally come to a place where I felt like I couldn't do it. Fast forward, that same year, I was asking different questions about college and things of that nature. I was just trying to prepare myself, because junior year is when you take that PSAT, and that's when you get all the money and everything. And so I was really doing a lot of investigating, and I remember being met by a teacher who felt like I wasn't a strong enough student to go into chemistry, and how I needed to look at some other alternatives. Fast forward 10 years, and I am a PhD candidate in computational chemistry, which means I am the intersection between a mathematician, a chemist, and a computer scientist, by which I got 2 degrees in undergrad. I had 1 in chemistry and 1 in mathematics. So thank God I didn't listen to the advice of the people behind me. With that, having these so-called accolades, they didn't come easy. It's not like somebody just handed them to me or it was a cakewalk for me. Because of me not necessarily fitting into the mold, I've always had to have God carve out a specific path for me in order for me to get to where I need to be, despite the fact that everyone around me in authority feels as though I shouldn't be in that position. So with that, these are my 3 points on how to go from D's to degrees and ultimately a doctorate. So the first principle that I want to talk about is prayer. Like I said before, I've been an average student per se my entire academic career, and I've worked really hard, and I work twice as hard as my peers, as I said, but there's a certain level of God factor that's been involved, and I can't deny that. I want to start with this because I feel like this is the most important part. I've had to persist despite. The only way to do that is to go into a position of prayer and to meet God where you can and allow Him to do the rest. So the first part of prayer is I make my petition known to him. It's allowing God to put me in the positions that aren't necessarily comfortable, that are hard, that I do have to work a little bit harder and I do have to do some more all-nighters in order to get to. The other part of prayer is that I ensure that I'm in the will of God. It's very rare that I will jump out and do something without asking God first. And this is my built-in contingency plan. Because if I know that He's called me to it, I know that I can achieve it. And I would like to make a clear distinction that this is not manifestation. I don't necessarily believe in this concept of manifestation as if there's anything that we can do in our own power. I strategically go before the Lord and lay down my pride in order to be in His purpose and His plan for my life, so that I don't have to take any detours or anything like that. And that's not saying that my journey hasn't been detour free, because I've had to take plenty of detours that I didn't necessarily think that I would have to take. The main one being, I thought I was going to go straight to a 4-year university after high school, and I didn't. I had the opportunity to, and I couldn't see the cost analysis weighing in my favor, and as a result I stayed home for a year and I went to community college. Within that year I was able to finish my entire associate's degree, so 2 years worth of coursework, in order for me to put myself in a position where I could go onto a 4-year university with a great platform ahead of me. However, had it been in my own strength, had it been in Michaela's plan, my pride wouldn't have allowed for such a thing to happen. So I keep God first in everything that I do. I think that year was probably one of the most influential of my entire life, because it set the trajectory for who I am today in such a way that I wouldn't have had that had I went off to school. And I probably would have dropped out of school, to be honest, had I went right away. The second skill I think you have to have in order to go from D's to degrees and ultimately a doctorate is that you have to be persistent. I am an audiovisual learner. I do very well with things such as videos and labs and lectures, but I do not do well with reading comprehension. And as a result, the higher you get, the more your education is dependent upon said reading comprehension. I also don't do well with busy work. If I feel like I'm doing something on a repetitive basis, I have a very hard time with that level of learning. I'm not a memorized type learner, and as a result, I've had to actually learn how to learn for my style. I thank God for the upbringing that I had. My parents were able to afford me to go to private school, by which I was able to learn these skills before I had even reached high school, which is such a blessing. But so many people do not, and I think that it's important that you specifically know your learning style and know how to study based on your learning style in order for you to transition from what they perceive to be a student who can't learn to a student who can fit their educational needs within this said box that they give students. The next part of persistence is I find it necessary to never give up. Like I said, it has not been an easy process for me, and a lot of times it's been an uphill battle. One journey in particular was when it came time for me to graduate with my undergraduate degree. I was pursuing 2 degrees, and the university was trying not to award me my second degree. Had I gone based on the circumstances presented to me, I would never have a second degree. I was specifically told by at least 3 people that were in upper level administration at that university that I should not pursue the completion of my second degree, even though I was 1 class away from finishing. And while this seems preposterous, as it was, they felt in their academic opinion that as an average student, it wasn't worth me pursuing the stress related to picking up a 22 credit semester. Thanks to the glory of God and my persistence, I continuously knocked on doors, sent emails, and showed up in person to multiple people until I got to where I needed to be. And that was for them to have a solution that worked in my favor as a student. Had I not been persistent, I would not have my second degree. And while it might seem futile to many to have 2 degrees, even though you only get 1 piece of paper, without that second degree, without that interdisciplinary understanding, I wouldn't be able to do the job that I currently do. And that piece of paper, while they might have felt in their opinion that it didn't matter, at the end of the day, to an African American female with an average GPA and an average level of skill, that second piece of paper sets me apart. The last 2 parts of persistence is that I give myself grace and I never am too prideful to ask for help. If you haven't seen our perfectionist blog post, I'll place the link to it below, but you can't be a perfectionist and give yourself grace. You will always fall short. So it was a requirement for me to learn how to give myself grace in such a way that I understand that things won't always add up. I will not always be the best in the room. It's very rare that I'm actually the best in the room. But even in my average ability, there is purpose in me. There is purpose in who I am. There's purpose in my calling, and I can't discount that. The last part of going from D's to degrees and ultimately a doctorate is that I have to prioritize. I wear a lot of hats. First of all, even within my home, I wear a lot of hats. Even when living alone, I wear a lot of hats. I mean a lot to a lot of people, and a lot of people mean a lot to me. And as a result, I have obligations that are outside of my occupational obligations that sometimes bleed over into my work life. In the same way, I have occupational obligations that I've never been one to just settle for the status quo. So even now, in the fact that I'm getting my PhD, I can't just get my PhD. You know, we teach, we do research, we take classes. That's just not enough for me. I have to go and do things like start a business and be a auntie and be a sister and be a godmom, and those things are all important to me. And because of that, I can't do everything. Sometimes things don't get done, and it's okay that things don't get done. You just have to learn to prioritize what's important in such a way that too many dominoes don't fall at one time. With the first 3 points, you're able to achieve a certain level of turnaround when it comes to your mindset and how you operate within an educational sphere or even just a successful sphere. But I would be remiss if I did not give this last point, and that is partnership. It is so important. I did not realize how important until maybe the last 3 to 5 years of my life, the importance of partnership and having people who you can connect with both on an educational level but as well as a spiritual level in order for you to get to where you need to be. In my case, I have a beautiful tribe with some amazing people who have helped me along the way with things as simple as partnering in prayer and things as large as helping me write papers and proofing and editing things. And I think that is it's not just necessary, it's vital. I think that's what sets apart good from great. And while, again, like I said, I'm an average student on paper, I'm an extraordinary human being as a correlation to the people that are around me and the tribe that I do have. Those levels of partnerships, even among your peers, is so important. And it's vital and crucial to you not only getting to where you need to be, but being able to stay in the seat. And for that, I'm eternally grateful to all of the amazing people in my life who are a part of my tribe. But you guys, it's just as simple as that. You can go from average or D's or whatever have you to having a turnaround and becoming whoever it is that you need to be. But you have to do the work. You have to pray and ask the Lord where you're supposed to be and how He's going to get you there, and execute. You have to be persistent in your execution. You cannot give up. It is vital that you do not give up, because you could be so close to the end and not even know it. The next part is to prioritize and understand that there is a lot that will be expected of you and a lot that will be asked of you, but if you have priority and you communicate in those priorities, you're good to go always. You'll always have enough left over to fill each cup. And the last part is having good partnerships, good community, good people around you to help build you up and not tear you down in every aspect of your life and every aspect of your journey. So if you guys found this video helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. We are a small channel and we would love to be able to grow. So if you could please share with other people that you know if they would need this or this would be useful for them. Also, please comment in the description box below what kind of student, if you are in an academic professional, you have a job, what kind of student were you, and do you feel like the type of student that you were reflected the type of worker that you are? Because I personally don't agree that my grades reflect in any sort of way what kind of learner and what kind of worker I am, because I work way harder than what an A, B, C, or D could even tell you. So thank you guys so much for your time. I'm eternally grateful, and until the next video, bye.